Hey you. Welcome to the Free Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Amber Andrews, and today we are going to be doing season 2, episode 2. Now, real quick, if you are new, our podcast is bi-weekly. I upload every other Wednesday. I do film it for YouTube, and then I also film it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. There's another one I'm forgetting. Apple Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud. Okay, maybe that's it. But yeah, so you can either listen or you can watch and listen, whatever you prefer. This is only our second episode that we have available on YouTube. But going forward, all episodes will be on YouTube starting with season 2. So if you do want to check out season 1, head on over to either Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SoundCloud. You can check those out by listening to them. So today's episode, y'all, I don't even really have words because I just feel like the last couple of weeks, the devil has really been trying me. And so today's episode is called God is in Control. And I'm just basically going to be talking about what is it that you do when you feel like God gave you a blessing and then he asked for that blessing back? What do you do when you're in that situation? I feel like that is something that I'm really going through right now with one specific blessing in my life. Let me rewind a bit. If you listened to the last episode of season 1, it's called 2021 Recap. I mentioned in that episode that I felt strongly that God had blessed me with a prophetic vision. He had told me who my kingdom spouse was, who my future husband is, And I, as of lately, have felt as though God showed me it. He showed me who it was, and he let me get comfortable. He let me, get excited. He let me think of all these plans for the future with, my kingdom spouse. And he let me talk about it to a few people, share the blessing here and there. And then it was like, hold up, I'm going to take it back. That's truly how I feel. But as I've been really pondering on it and really thinking about it, sometimes God will test our faith. A lot of times when he gives us a blessing or he tells us about a blessing that's to come in the future, I feel like as human beings, we get overly excited for that blessing. And sometimes we may prioritize the blessing itself more than we prioritize God. And I don't think anything's wrong with that. I think it comes as second nature. Is kind of normal for us because we're so excited and we're finally just like, yes, God, he hears me. He knows what I need. He knows what I'm asking for. He just told me it's going to happen. Your mind gets filled with all this expectation and you do all this planning and you just kind of try to put yourself in the future as if it's already happening now. So that's what was happening for me. And this whole thing started October of 2021. So if you see me looking away, it's because I'm looking at my iPad because I took notes. But October 2021 was when God first gave me the specific vision. And that's when he, I literally heard him whisper like, this man is your husband. And it was very unclear at first. I mean, I knew that I heard God say that, but in that exact moment, it was unclear because I didn't believe that that specific man was my husband. It was hard for me to believe just given the circumstances around. I'm not going to give too much detail because I don't want to, expose too much. But given the circumstances and where this particular man how I met this particular man, put it that way, I couldn't foresee that he was going to be my husband. So yeah, October 2021 is when God first showed me the blessing. And like I said, I wasn't sure at first, but at the same time, I knew it was God speaking to me through the Holy Spirit. And I remember I kept questioning and I had my doubts and I was like, well, God, am I even worthy of this type of blessing? This seems so far-fetched. This seems so much more than what I'm worth. This seems like it just can't be. Like he can't be for me is the way I was looking at it. And the crazy part is I never asked God for this specific blessing. Like I was at a place where I was focused on myself. I was focused on school because you guys, I don't know if you guys know, but I am in school for my bachelor's and my master's degree. I was focused on school. I was focused on my YouTube channel. I was focused on my podcast. I was just at a place where I was focusing on my own self, and I was actually on my mental health journey. So, I was getting into therapy, and I had a psychiatrist, and I was really just taking the steps to better my own self. I was in no place or any mindset of I want a husband or I want a boyfriend or I'm ready for a relationship. Like, that had not even come to my mind. So another reason why it was hard for me to even see, that particular blessing coming to, reality was that I didn't ask God for that. I mean, God knows the desires in my heart. Of course, he knows one day I want to be a wife. Of course, he knows one day I want to be a mother. But that was not something I was looking for God to tell me in that moment. So when he said it to me, I was just like, huh? Like, what you mean, God? Like, how is that my husband? So that was October of 2021. From that month on, I continued to pray for wisdom. I continued to pray for clarity, discernment. I said, God, please give me confirmations. There were multiple times where I asked God over and over and over again for a confirmation, and he just kept sending them one after another. And after a while, I started to question if God was getting upset with me. Like, God, I know that you said this, and I know that you showed me 5 confirmations, but I still am having a hard time believing it. And during this time, I will say that my faith definitely grew within God, because it was like I had no choice but to trust him and just, really hold on to what I feel like he was telling me. So during this time, I was just waiting on God to keep showing me the confirmations and keep letting things unfold in the way that he had it planned. And I remember this one specific day, I was actually watching a YouTube sermon by Michael Todd. If you guys don't know who Michael Todd is, go check him out on YouTube. But I was watching a YouTube sermon by Michael Todd. I can't remember what it was called, but I know that he was talking about relationships. And he was saying that if you feel like God gave you your, ordained spouse, whether it be your wife or your husband, he was saying that before you pursue that person, you should give the person to God. Tell God, hey, God, this is what I think you want me to do, but I'm going to give this relationship to you, and I'm going to ask for permission to pursue. So that really touched me, because I was like, okay, God, like, I think that's what I need to do, because I still have my doubts, but you also show me these confirmations, and I don't want to do anything that is acting outside of the will that you have for my life. So I remember that night after I watched after I watched the YouTube sermon, I prayed to God about my situation, and I told God, like, hey, God, I know you said this is my spouse. I know you told me this is my husband for the future, but I know you showed me these confirmations, but I'm still having my doubts. I said, I'm excited, because if this is true, like, thank you, God, thank you, Jesus, because let me tell you, this person is literally more than I ever imagined for myself. And I'm not just talking about like physical attraction, like, their personality, their goals, their ambitions, like, just everything. Don't get me started, because I get all flustered when I talk about them. But anyways, back on topic. I was saying to God, like, if this is who you have for me, I'm asking you for permission to pursue. I'm giving him back to you, even though he was never mine. Like, we never got to a point of even dating. We just have a friendship and we talk here and there. So I was like, I'm giving him back to you. You can have him. I'm returning, to sender. And if it is meant to be, please give me permission to pursue. And basically what permission to pursue means, from what Michael Todd was teaching, that if this person, this spouse, this boyfriend, this girlfriend, whatever it may be for you, if God puts them back in your life after you've already given him back to God and asked for permission to pursue, if God returns them back to you, then it was meant to be. And I know for some people it may be questionable, because that sounds so like cliche. You know how people always say, like, oh, like, if it's meant for us to be, we'll, meet in another lifetime, or, we'll date later down the line. But for me, it's more so that you literally took the blessing to God, which is what I did. And I specifically told him, like, hey, God, this is what it is. I'm asking you for permission to pursue this person, or for this person to pursue me. And if that is your will, let him return to me, give him back to me, send me another confirmation that involves him in it. And that's exactly what happened. On November 11th, 2021, is when I got my permission to pursue. And in the moment, I did not know that that was what was happening. But I knew that in that time frame, I was very heavily refocused on myself. I no longer was focused on him and if it would happen and when it would happen. I was back focusing on myself, focusing on God, and, continuing to walk my race. And I remember that specific day, I was minding my business, focusing on myself, and he came out of nowhere and he approached me, and we actually had, one of our very first conversations. And I don't mean just like a, hey, how are you type of thing. It was like a in deep conversation. Like, we were connecting on so many different levels. We realized that we had, quite a few things in common. And I was kind of in awe because I was just like, wow, like, I don't know how to explain it. I feel like a lot of women will understand this, but when you talk to a guy, especially this day and age, it's a lot of things you look for and a lot of things you pick up on as a woman. And the way this particular guy was talking to me and, the things he was saying, it was just like, it was a shocker in a way. It was mind blowing because I've never had that type of conversation with a male before. Like, that was the first man that actually approached me correctly. And then when he was talking, it's like he was actually making sense. He actually sounded like, that he had some type of knowledge, or that, just common sense, common manners. Like, he came correct, put it that way. So as we're having this conversation, I'm just going with the flow, conversating back and forth, asking him questions, he's asking me questions. And he actually has said something that was, I don't even know if I want to go there, but it's coming to my mind, so I feel like God needs me to say it. But this man actually said something that was on my list of don't wants. So, we all have our list. When we think of our spouse, or we think about a person that we want to potentially date, we have a list of what we expect them to look like and expect them to have going on for themselves. And then we have a list of, no, absolutely not. You can't have this, or I can't date you if you don't have a car. I can't date you if you're not in school. I can't date you if you don't have a degree, or, all these things. I can't be with you if you have kids, like those type of things. So he actually had one of the things that I had on my list as, absolutely not. I'm not dating anybody that has this particular thing or that's in this particular situation. But when he said it to me, instead of going to my immediate reaction of, being turned off and actually being like, I'm good, like, you said enough, like, this is it, like, I don't, instead of having a negative thought about it, it didn't even faze me. I just was open to it. I was open to the idea. I was open to what he was telling me. And I didn't let it, end everything right where it was. And that in itself was, to me, a confirmation and a sign from God, because one, it showed me that I have really grown as a person. And two, it really showed me that when you think, we as humans, how can I word this? We as humans, we think that we know what we want in life, but God has the ultimate say so. So regardless of what you plan for yourself, regardless of what you think you want in your life, is really up to God. So in this moment when this man was telling me this specific thing, I didn't let it, stop the process, or I didn't let it hinder anything. I just was open to it. And I was like, okay, like, that's fine. And we went on with the conversation. And that's still crazy to me to think about, because I've changed my whole perspective. It's like my perspective has done a 360 when it comes to certain topics in life. But at the end of the day, I really feel as though we as humans should not judge others. You never know who you're going to meet in life, what type of background they come from, what they've been through. And we each have a story. All of us have a story. All of us have been through something in life, whether it be a traumatic experience or, just a growing lesson. So we can't judge people based off of, what they went through in their early years of life. So when he was telling me this specific thing, I was understanding to it and I was open to it. And still to this day, I'm very open to it. And when we do take that step of, going closer to marriage, or going closer to dating and then marriage, and forming a unionship, it's something that I am looking forward to. I'm looking forward to this particular thing and just really growing together as one. So like I said, November 11th is when we had our first actual real conversation, where we were kind of, getting to know each other, asking certain questions, and, just trying to figure out the little small details of one another's life. And in this moment, I remember I could hear God, and I could also see him. I can see him with his hand on the situation the entire time. I can see him working things out on the inside and on the outside. So it was easy for me to know, like, this is God. Like, this has to be God. He's literally giving me confirmation after confirmation, and he's working things out. And not only that, he gave me permission to pursue. This is after I asked God and gave the blessing back to him, and I asked for permission to pursue. And what happens? He gave me permission. He returned him back to me, and we had our first conversation. So that was really exciting. But in this time, I got so stuck on the fact that I knew God. How can I explain it? I began to focus more on the blessing than I did anything else. I focused my entire, I'm not going to say my entire life, but every day, especially the days that I had to go to a specific place, I focused more on him and our, future marriage and our future relationship more than I focused on anything else. It was like, in a way, I was idolizing the blessing. And that's one thing about God. Our God is a jealous God. And when you're a Christian and when you have a relationship with God and when you call yourself having faith in him and trust in him, you should not be idolizing anything. We are supposed to love God first, and we are supposed to form a unionship with him first before we do anything else. And if you put anything above that relationship, God gets jealous, and he will quickly notice, and he will see what you were doing, and trust and believe, whether it's intentional or not, he's going to step in and, re-show you, like, hey, focus on me, focus on me, focus on me. Like, I know I told you this certain thing, but I need you to focus on me right now. So I feel like that is what led me to where I am today, because I was more so focused on the blessing than I was focused on the person who gave me the blessing, being God. It made a way for God to kind of step in and redirect my focus, even though I didn't choose to redirect my focus. If it was up to me, I would still be focused on the situation, on the future. But it's like God was saying, like, I need you to focus right here, right now, where you are at. Because if you don't, you're going to miss something. And I have so many things going on right now in my life that I'm just like, I can't see myself in an actual committed, serious relationship right here, right now. So that's how I know that God is basically telling me, like, you're not ready. Like, physically, you may be ready. Mentally, you may be ready. But I still need you to, check off these other things on your list of assignments that I've given you. And to some, that may be a little bit confusing, but just know that God has put an assignment on all of our lives. He's given us all a calling, and he's given us all a purpose. In specific, I know one of mine is this whole podcast situation. That is a specific calling that God has put on my life. So until I really buckle down and focus on my podcast, which I haven't missed a single upload, but it's like, I know the podcast might be one thing that would fall short if I were to get in a relationship. And that's just because of lack of discipline, and lack of, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not going to say commitment, but definitely lack of discipline. So it's like God is working on me internally to help me develop these characteristics that I need to be able to balance everything, so that when I do get in this relationship, nothing falls short. I'm still maintaining all of my assignments and all of my callings that he has put on my life, even something as simple as school. I'm in school right now, and I'm not going to say things aren't looking good, but my second semester just started, and I'm already just feeling overwhelmed. So it's like, if you're feeling overwhelmed with school, how are you going to potentially put yourself in a relationship right now? So it's just like, God has a time for everything. And I completely understand that sometimes he will show you a blessing just to get you prepared for it, just to guarantee you, like, hey, this is going to happen in your future, but I still need you to focus on me where you're at right now, so we can get some other things in order, take care of some other things, and that's going to prepare you for the blessing in the future. So I think I covered everything that I wrote down in my notes, and I know this episode was a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to follow, especially with me not giving full details, but I really don't want to give full details right now, just because like I said, my focus is on God. So I don't want to focus too much on the details and what exactly it is that I'm talking about, but just know the basics. And the most important point I wanted you to get from this episode is that sometimes God will give you a blessing, and if he doesn't give it to you directly, he will show you a piece of it just so that he can let you know, like, hey, this is coming, this is what I have for you, but I need you to stay focused. I need you to stay on course with the plan that I have for your life. And if you don't, you get sidetracked, you fall off, you start idolizing the blessing more than you idolize God. He will take that blessing back from you. And he's not taking it back forever. He's just taking it back temporarily so that you can get back on track and get back where he needs you to be. So here we are in January. What is today? The 27th? I think January 27th, 2022. And where do I stand with this blessing that God has given me? I am at a standstill. I'm at a road bump, a speed bump. I'm at a bump in the road, whatever you want to call it. But I'm okay with that because I know that this moment is temporary. This moment is just to get me back on track with what it is God assigned me to do. I'm feeling very positive and hopeful about it. And I still know that in the future, that kingdom spouse, that man that God has destined for me, and that he has destined myself for him, I know that it will happen. I can't give you a date. I can't give you a time. Only God knows those details. But I just felt it on my heart to share with you that God is in control of our life. Every detail, every aspect. It can be the type of job you want to work, the school you're applying to. It doesn't have to be a spouse or a kingdom spouse. It can literally be anything. Your talent, it can be a talent, a creativity, whatever it is, your YouTube videos, whatever it is. God has a plan and he is in control. And the quicker you give up your control and let him take control, the better. So like I said, I think I'm done. I think I said everything I needed to say. But I just want to share with you guys what I'm going through lately, and just how God is really testing and perfecting and increasing my faith in him. Because without faith, we have nothing. Actually, speaking of faith, I don't know if I want to share this on here, but to show God that in this, I already told God, for those that don't know, on January 21st, I turned 27. And I had already told God that this year I was going to be giving to him to do completely whatever it is he wants to do. I didn't make any New Year's resolutions for this year. I'm just letting God take control and do what he wants in my life. Of course, I have certain predictions about what he might do, but I'm not writing anything down. I'm not setting anything in stone. Like, whatever he wants to do, do it, God. Like, I surrender. And one of the things I did for my 21st birthday, just to show my commitment to him and show him that I truly do mean what I say, I got 2 new tattoos. I don't know if y'all can really see it, but on this arm it says grace, and then on this arm I'm bruised because y'all, my skin is real sensitive, but this arm says strength. And it was just a way for me not only to celebrate my 27th birthday, but to actually show God, like, I'm walking in your strength. Like, you give me grace every day. You give me strength every day. I trust in you. I have faith in you. It is because of your grace and because of the strength that you give me that I'm still standing here today in this very moment. Because listen, God could have took me out a long time ago. I mean, the behaviors I was doing, the risky... Listen, go listen to season 1 if you haven't. I go into detail about my past life. But y'all, let's just say God did not have to bring me to this day, but he certainly did. He did not have to bring me to this 27th year, but he certainly did. And I'm forever thankful for that. So let me leave you with this last question. What is it that you would do if God asked you for the blessing back? Whatever the blessing is that he had gave you, what would you do if he asked you for it back? Would you start to love the blessing more than you love him and say, God, I'm not giving you this blessing back. You gave it to me. It's mine. Or would you just be completely surrendered to him and be like, have it, God, it's yours? Because it's easier said than done. I know that much. So yeah, I love you guys. I thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you got something from it. I know it was a little tough to follow along, but leave me some feedback, y'all. Y'all don't be leaving no feedback in the comment section. Y'all don't be rating anything on the podcast. Leave me feedback. If you don't want to leave feedback under the video for everybody to see, feel free to email me. I'll leave our email in the show notes and on the YouTube description box. But yeah, let me wrap this up because I have been talking for almost 30 minutes. But like I said, I love you guys. I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks for season 2, episode 3. And I'll check you out then. Peace.